I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Discover New Music. Very excited for my guest this week. He's produced records, many records. He's played with a little old band called Shinedown. And now we get to add to his very impressive resume, solo record producing artist, Mr. Eric Bass. Eric, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Brock. How are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. Obviously, we could go through a laundry list of all your accomplishments, but we're here today because you are releasing your first solo record. It's called I Had a Name. It drops February 28th. And with all of your time in the industry, you've been very busy. Why the leap into the solo world now? What kind of sparked that creative journey to go down this path?
Yeah, I think well, it kind of chose me. I didn't really choose it, if that makes sense. I'll make it make sense. How about that? We were on tour for the Attention record early on in the Attention touring cycle, and I had this idea for a graphic novel. It kind of came out of nowhere. Like I said, it kind of chose me. It was had this voice in my head that was like, right, you might want to write this story down, you know. So I began writing down what would become the prequel to this graphic novel that will be released later this year. And as I was exploring that story on that tour, I was messing around with some pieces of music, you know, on days off in the hotel room or in the dressing room. You know, I'd carry a Pro Tools rig with me, and I went to Brent at that time and I was like, hey, I know it's early on in this process, but are you ready to start working on some new Shinedown music? And he's like, absolutely not. So I said, well, look, I got these pieces of music. I think they're super different. It would have made an interesting Shinedown record probably, but I've got these pieces of music. They're a little different. I'm gonna work on this other record, and you know the other three guys were like, yeah, absolutely, and not that I have to ask permission, but you know we always want to put our best foot forward with the band first, you know. So anything I have ruminating or anything that I'm working on, I want to make available to Shinedown first. And anyway, yeah, man, started working on that record over the Attention touring cycle, then into COVID, and I actually finished the record 1 or 2 days before Brent and I started writing what would be Planet Zero. So it's been done for a minute. So it wasn't like this was a recent decision. It was just kind of this thing that I made, and it sits between these two Shinedown records, kind of finished, and never had a chance to release it. Wasn't sure if I was going to release it, to be honest with you. It's just something that I made for myself, just to kind of see if I could do it. It's a concept rock opera type record, and like I say, goes with a bigger story. And so it wasn't like I went, I'm going to make a weird solo record. No,
it's my time. I'm going to do it.
No, it was nothing like that. It was just I was creatively bored, and musically creatively bored. I guess at the time I was still working on writing books and doing that other stuff, but it just kind of had to come out, and like I said, it chose me, so that's why it exists.
I think it's very interesting, and how the universe works, and you saying it chose you because you talking to Brent and you guys in the middle of Shinedown stuff, him not being ready to work on other stuff. It came at really the perfect time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was not something that well, the first thing people inevitably ask is, what's going on with Shinedown? You're putting a solo record out, like, is there trouble in paradise? And it's like, absolutely not. It's we just released Shinedown just released 2 songs right in the middle of me releasing this, so there is no no problem like that, and those guys are super supportive of this record. They're awesome. Actually we're mad that I was thinking about not putting it out. So
well, it's nice to have that support, and we got to unpack a lot here because I know the graphic novel you said would be later on, and it coincides with this, and this is really where it was born from, which I think is cool. And you said exactly what I wanted to talk about, this kind of rock opera, this concept album, and it's hard to put label on things. You don't ever want to pigeonhole anything, but when you think concept album, which this thing is really built on, you think of Tommy from The Who and The Wall from Pink, these massive concept albums. It's kind of fun to make this journey, and it built this world. It tells us about this world and deciding to make maybe this kind of central theme.
Yeah, so like in a nutshell, basically, I'll give you the nuts and bolts of the graphic novel. It's very, in fact, this part of the story is only one piece. So it's a very detailed story. But I'll try to break it down pretty simply. We're basically living in a world that was formerly run by three kings who gets overthrown by this dictator, and he basically kills off all the protection that this world has, and ends up basically mind controlling the population and having all of the youth, all the kids on this world get sent to this education camp, which is half school on one side and the other half is like a prison work camp, and all the kids that whose parents align with him and aren't he doesn't see as a problem, he puts into the educational side, and then all the other kids they're the leftovers, and maybe he doesn't like, or they cause problems or whatever, he throws over into the work camp. And it's basically in essence the beginning of these kids escaping this camp, some of them, and joining forces with some other individuals that have been fighting back against this problem government for a long time, and they start to fight back. There's a lot of magic and mystery and a lot of nuance and a lot of story built into that. But that's the nuts and bolts of the story. So
I love it.
I basically, with the record, like I said, the idea for the record came along after I'd already started formulating this story, and it was just taking snapshots of from the story and writing songs about them, much in the way that I do. Or we do when we're writing Shinedown material, just with the real world. You just pull these snapshots, these events that you see that look interesting to you, that you feel deeply about, and just started pulling those types of things out of my fictitious world and writing an album about it.
I love it. I have a follow-up to this, just real quick thing with that. Is this a thing where you can open page one to the novel, drop the needle a la Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz, or is it not quite that chronological? Okay, gotcha.
No, I mean, well, the album is chronological. So
it is. Okay.
It does. The album's chronological, but it's like I said, we're taking massive leaps throughout the album to different parts of the story. And look, when you read the graphic novel, when that happens, you'll be able to see these songs in those stories.
Cool.
So cool. I think it'll make the record a lot more rich at that point. But one thing I tried to do I know it's a concept record, but I really sometimes, not all the time, this isn't a blanket statement, but a lot of the time graphic novels can end up being very wooden in a way where it's like you're just told the story, you're told what this is about. I'm directly telling you that this happens. John runs from here to here, and then he does this, and he comes over here and hangs out with this person, kills this person, and makes it out alive.
Yeah.
And a lot of graphic novels, a lot of concept records can be like that. And lyrically, what I was trying to do with this one was be a lot more metaphoric, kind of the way we write in Shinedown, and sort of creating songs that, yes, they're telling the story, but it's also, if the listener's just hearing this thing back, they can find themselves in it as well and find some meaning. So
I love it. I want to touch now on something you said in the end of the last answer. There was, pulling snippets from this world you created, and then Shinedown, you pull snippets from the real world. So with that, is it different? Is it the same? Is it harder? Is it easier? Pulling from a make-believe world, a world that you created, as opposed to talk maybe, or at least the difference of pulling from those two worlds and writing with them.
Yeah. So something really cool happened with this record, with my record, when I was almost done with it. I was listening through the track 5 on the record is a song called Good Night, Good Night. And I was listening to that song. I was just listening back to the mix or something. I forget what I was doing. Maybe I was just listening to the tracking of it, but, it dawned on me rather suddenly and shockingly that I had probably written the most autobiographical record of my career through these characters.
Oh, okay.
And unintentionally, though, because but it makes a lot of sense because these characters live in my head. I invented them, I created them, and this world represents a lot of different facets of my life in a lot of ways, and these characters represent different facets of my personality. And it really it was almost embarrassing when I realized it. I'm like, oh, wait a second, I've exposed too much. I've said too much. There's a lot of my depression and confusion and mental issues wrapped up in this record. There's a lot of my faith journey wrapped up in this record. It's a lot of looking back to my childhood wrapped up in this record. And so I think that's why it was kind of easy to write. Usually, if you're writing something that's not honest, it's really hard to write. Like, I mean, you can make words rhyme and you can put a song together, but if you're trying to make something meaningful and it's not honest, those two things don't really coalesce very well. So this record was just super smooth and it kind of rolled out. And when I had that realization, it answered my question as to why it was kind of fluid and easy to write, because I am just writing this easy. Yeah, I'm writing these very truthful. Yes, I'm writing about a story, but they're very truthful. What's the right word? Like moments and totems, I guess is a better way to put it. They're very you're very honest and truthful. Every moment that happens in the record, and every moment I can't think of the word I'm trying to. It's right here. I'm old, man. Yeah. So that's no different than writing Shinedown music.
Yeah.
It really isn't. The biggest difference was I was on my own with this record, and sometimes the blessing and the curse of writing with Brent or with Brent and Zach or whatever sort of writing group we have together. A lot of times it's just me and Brent. Is you have somebody to bounce it off of. You're like, hey, is this good? Is this great? Is this good? Does it need to be better? And you can kind of vibe back and forth.
Yeah.
But when I say it's a blessing and a curse, that's a great thing. But it's also, there's compromise when I'm working with Shinedown, and it's like sometimes like the things I would love to explore and do, I have to kind of rein myself in, and so the fact that I'm here on my own, yes, I get to completely explore and completely play whatever I want to play and whatever notes I want to hear and whatever lyrics I want to say and however I want to hear it. But I also don't have any help with that at the end of the day, and I have to sit here and decide: is that good? Is that good? I don't know. And then I have this conversation with myself about if it's good or not, and then I have to just have the courage of my convictions and go, well, I think it's good. So if it's not, then oh well.
Well, from what we're gathering and the little pieces that we've had, obviously we'll get the full record February 28th. Again, I Had a Name. I'm sure we're all going to be very impressed, and you can take a sigh of relief going, okay, it was good. This was the right choice. Done beating yourself up about it. That's good.
I hope so, man. I made it for myself. I made a record for myself, and that, again, one of the reasons why I wasn't sure I was going to release it. It was like I just love the fact that this thing exists, but art doesn't really exist until you give it to somebody, until you present it to the world. So
I love it.
I'm sure I'll get dragged for some of it, man, but hopefully people will like a lot of it.
Well, again, I Had a Name, February 28th. It's coming out, the first solo venture, which I hope is many more to come from Eric when you're not busy, obviously, rocking the world with Shinedown. Yeah, I do want to also mention, too, as you said, by yourself, left to your own devices, you did everything on this album, and that's not a hyperbole. Outside of maybe taking the trash out from the studio.
No, I do that too.
You did that too.
I do that too.
So that's a lot of responsibility to take on, but I'm also rewarding too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, man. Just like anything else like that. I mean, when these big projects, these things that sometimes when you're in the midst of them, you wonder why you did it to yourself or what the hell am I doing?
Right.
But you're right, man. At the end of the day, when I sit back and listen to it, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I don't really know of any artist that listens to something they've made and thinks it's perfect. It's got a lot of scars in it. It's got a lot of imperfections. But that's what makes it breathe and live. And yeah, man, it was very rewarding to write everything, to play all the instruments, to produce it, to mix it, to engineer it, and ultimately finish it. Had some help. I had my nieces and nephews sang some stuff on it. There's some kids singing on some stuff, and they did that. And of course, my great friend and partner here at the studio, Eric Rickert, he helped me engineer some stuff. Like when I was doing the drums and stuff, I couldn't, he had to hit the buttons, So huge help. He's worked on all the Shinedown records too. He's a great engineer and a great asset to me. But other than those couple of moments, man, it was just all me in here just beating my head against a wall. You know?
I love it. Well, again, we can't wait to hear more. February 28th can't come quick enough. We'll get to this last question before we get to stupid quickies. Or I'm not sorry, rapid fire. Stupid quickies, I'm thinking of my on air, but rapid fire.
All right.
It's the same thing. But you mentioned track number 5, so maybe you already answered it. But do you have a favorite track on the album or a song on this album that really speaks to you?
Yeah, Good Night is very it feels the most personal to me lyrically. It's about Good Night is about I think that a lot of people wake up and maybe realize this, where they think back about the kid that they were when they were younger, and how different we are now as adults, and kind of looking back at that version of yourself and kind of wishing them well, kind of giving them a send off, and so that one's pretty personal. The song Azalea, which is one that I've released so far, I like that song a lot. It was kind of Azalea was sort of the first song that gave this record its personality. I'd written some other things, but once Azalea was written, I kind of knew what the record was going to be. And it didn't really become a formula or anything, but it maybe a light blueprint for other things to come when I was writing. So, yeah, and I had to kind of dig on that one a little bit too. So,
Well,
that one didn't come as easily, but it happened, and it feels good.
Well, again, we can't wait to hear the rest of it. Very excited, the graphic novel to go along with it. Well, now that the important stuff is out of the way, let's do rapid fire, and I'll get you back to it because I know you got a lot of people to talk to. Start off simple: sneakers or sandals?
Sneakers.
Billy Ocean or Billy Idol?
Oh man, Billy Ocean's the first thing I thought. Billy Ocean. I know that's weird, man, but I like Billy Ocean. Going gets tough, man. Come on.
I tell you, out of the questions I do with this, that one hangs people up a lot. They're like, man, oh man, they don't want to insult either Billy. They love them both. But
dude, as soon as you said that, I saw that video with him and I don't know who the celebrities were in the video, but they're all playing in his band. Danny DeVito and a couple of people. I love Billy Ocean, man. I love Billy Idol too, but come on.
Going with the Billy Ocean, can't go wrong. New England clam chowder or a creamy tomato bisque?
Oh, bisque.
Oh, nice. With a fancy grilled cheese. That's what I like to add to that.
Well, my wife and I have that like once a week.
Oh, no kidding. There you go. Fantastic.
Yeah. There we go.
Last one. This is the most important one. Chuck Norris roundhouse at 100% power or a Mike Tyson punch at 50% power. Which one you taking?
Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Dude, listen, man. I just watched a YouTube video. It's ironic. Last week, people talking about Chuck Norris and how unstoppable that guy was, and how frightened they were of him. And so I'll just go with Mike. I'll take my chances with Mike Tyson at 50%.
He's getting up there, and it's still going to put you down. It might be the last thing you do, but Chuck Norris, I get it. I get it.
No, I might not get up from either one, but I'm just thinking that after what I watched about. Now, I don't know, Mike Tyson in his prime, I don't know, man.
Gee, he was an animal. Oh,
man, I know.
But Chuck Norris fought Bruce Lee, man. I mean, come on now.
Well, Bruce Lee said that Chuck Norris was a better fighter, So that'll tell you something right there.
Walker, Texas Ranger, taking you out, man. Look out. All right. Thank you for humoring me. More importantly, Eric, thank you for talking new music again. I Had a Name, along with the graphic novel coming out. We'll see the album on February 28th. Super excited for you, man. Proud of you. And thanks so much for taking the time.
Brock, thanks for the time, brother. I appreciate you.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Brock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.